Thank you for joining today. We are going to speak about delivering on composable commerce for the enterprise. With me, I have two nice guests with me that are going to go with us through the content that we prepared for you guys. First of all, we have Martina with us. So Martina, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Martina, and I work as a front-end developer at Magnolia. Right now, I focus mainly on the Magnolia, Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and Salesforce PWA Kit integration. And I work on making it easier for developers to start up their own integration project.
Perfect. Very good. And with us, we also have James.
Hi, nice to be here. James Temple from Salesforce. I'm a product management director. Really, my job is acting as a composable commerce evangelist for the company. I've been doing headless around 6 years, and in that time, I was also one of the founding fathers of the Mac Alliance as well. So headless is kind of running through my veins these days.
Perfect. Yeah, and my name is Jan Schulte. I'm here head of group consulting. I'm since 9.5 years with the company, kind of Swiss Army knife. So everything from still a little bit of implementation to product onboardings, pitchings, and so on. Okay, perfect. So let's speak about the agenda, what we have on the plate today. Well, first of all, obviously, the name of the game for today, that's composable commerce. So we're going to discuss this in depth. And the next step, we are going to have a deeper look on Magnolia and the SFCC integrations, so how both systems really work together. Then we are going to have an in-depth demo. So in this demo, you will really see how both systems really click together, how you can actually compose and author content and mix and match products and services like Einstein, for example. And after this, we are going to have a Q&A session for roughly about 10 minutes. Quite important. Speaking about Q&A, if you look on the upper right-hand side, there's this nice Q&A tab. So if you have any questions during our session, please feel free just to type in your questions, and then we're going to answer those at the end of our masterclass here. All right. So I would say, first of all, maybe James, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your story, how you really got into e-commerce. So what was your way in the last few years?
So I came to Salesforce through the Mobify acquisition. I've been at Mobify for about 5 years. And Mobify initially was working on optimizing websites for mobile devices, hence the name of the company. But really very quickly, they moved directly into commerce websites, largely because it was just so much easier for commerce websites to justify that work. It was very easy to put a cash value against it. So with that, I kind of moved into digital commerce. And then over the years, Mobify moved from just doing this mobile optimization into full headless. We were working alongside Google. We're working with them on things like PWA for retail. And as I say, as we moved across from just mobile devices to all device types, we really got into the whole headless architectures as part of that. So this is why I've been in digital retail and headless architectures from there. And then obviously Salesforce brought us across specifically for those kind of areas.
Yeah. That also sounds a little bit like our story with the new headless world. For us, it's really kind of special. Our very first client that we ever had was indeed a headless client, obviously with a complete different tech stack, but the fundamentals that was already headless. If you only had new, it's a big thing. And then exactly also for us in the last 5 years, we really transitioned a lot towards headless, as we're also going to see today live. Okay, cool. So as we can see, I really know a long while also in this world of also e-commerce. One thing or one question that I get quite often is, so how do you see headless and composable, hybrid headless, all that stuff? Because quite often, if I really discuss those things with different people, I get a lot of different answers.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really relevant point. And you're right. This is really interesting. People say, we went headless 5 years ago. Is this headless now? What are we doing? The way I tend to see headless, and I agree there are multiple ways of doing this. The way I tend to see the modern headless architecture is that ultimately you have a framework, a system, a technology that is controlling the user experience layer Typically, this is going to be a modern web technology such as React or Vue Storefront, something like that. And that in turn is coupled to any kind of data provider just in a loose way, so basically by APIs. So this would be things such as obviously a commerce engine, obviously a content engine like yourselves, and then any other kind of third-party tooling as well that you might want to bring in there, separate search, perhaps separate personalization engines. All of these would get pulled in through, stretching the analogy a bit, through a neck, let's call it, where you bring all of your third-party tools together in a neck of APIs, which is then exposed to one or more endpoints. And as we start to move forward in this, I think one of the big symptoms of the modern headless architecture is that it's multiple endpoints nowadays. So it's ability to consume this, not just in a separate technology, but in multiple separate technologies, each as a lightweight user experience layer. So as I say, React or Vue perhaps, but also native apps like clienteling solutions, in-store solutions, a whole bunch of things, pulling in this data, like I say, in a loosely coupled manner.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly how I would describe it as well. A colleague of mine, cool. Well, one of our slides in Arsenal, thank you for that. He visualized it, I would say, super, super nice. I guess it's also how this word composable can be explained quite nicely. So if you look at your typical website, then you have all those kind of different services and systems that really provide all kind of different aspects for the site. So everything from search, product information, checkout services, newsletters, and what have you. And yeah, this is really, I guess, what defines headless, having just really, that's how I see it, it's really having this decoupled head with, let's say, React, PWA Kit, and that just have all those different services actually integrated into the full experience.
Yeah, and what I like about this, Jan, just to kind of follow up on your point, is the fact that it's seamless. You know, you don't see in that user experience, there's no big obvious separation either at a page level or within the page. It's seamless, like where the data is coming from. The user experience is flexible to be able to pull data from all these different systems and organically merge them together. So you don't, in the past, there was a sense of a kind of commerce-driven site or a content-driven site. Now they just organically pull them all together. And it's, like I say, the word I'm overusing is this kind of very seamless experience, but it's true, right? It's this organic experience, and it's very important because this is the kind of modern experience people expect.
Yep, absolutely. And again, here, just from the good old days, I mean, when I started, it was maybe a very simple product site, few products, catalog, and that's it, only that. And if I really look on what's happened in the last 8-9 years, it's really the complexity, the richness of services and things you can do that really increased a lot in the last few years. I guess it's also one of the main drivers of headless. Is just having everything just baked in one solution is just too big. It has to be really separated. That being said, so your take, what would be the real benefits of going headless? The real benefits of headless commerce, and especially when should you really invest into headless?
Well, the benefits are it's cool, and all the cool kids are doing it, so everyone should be doing it, right? I mean, I joke, but it really does feel like that at times, right? Like everyone's going headless. We have to get on the bandwagon. So no, look, it's a great question. It's something I always really go back to my challenge, my customers with. Why are you looking to go headless? Headless isn't a thing into itself. Headless is a potential solution to achieve business objectives. So the way I tend to think about it is the benefits you can get. One of the obvious ones that I think is a driver is the fact that you're able to have complete control over this user experience layer. If you take a traditional architecture, you often, when a new feature came out, like progressive web apps, you often have to wait for your commerce or content engine to kind of build that into their existing products, which is usually a year or two at least behind the industry. With this kind of approach where you're custom building that front end, you're able to take in the new features as they come out. So that's the thing that a lot of people like to do, and it's about that, really delivering the best user experience. However, on a more slightly long-term view, I think that the best benefit really is this ability to expose to multiple touch points. I believe that the digital commerce estate is becoming more complex. I think the idea of the siloed, just like one website that does one thing is kind of a thing of the past these days. Yeah. And I think the fact that all of the data and all the details that you have in there around things like customers and products and promotions and all of that stuff and all of the custom curated content, being able to be exposed to a new touch point all the time, join up in-store and online experiences. This is the future, I think. And so headless is really moving people to this future architecture to take advantage of all these touch points. I've just started buying things through the metaverse, through my VR stuff. So it's just,
Really?
it's just another touch point that kind of comes. Yeah. So it's just another touch point that comes in. And, we have quite a few customers talking to us saying, we want to get away from traditional point of sale. Is there a way that we can make our store, with everything that happened post-COVID and the way that supply is now working, what can we do to change the in-store experience? This is an area I'm very, passionate about. And headless is a really good driver for that. How do we expose all of that functionality online in store? How do we expose it to things like, sort of fitted in-store things like kiosks and stuff like that, and also clienteling apps that are also being run by the in-store assistant. So it's stuff that you can use in store as a customer, or the assistants can use. It can be freestanding, a whole bunch. It can even be variations on your existing website that's specifically for in-store usage. But it's just joining that whole thing up. So that's an area that I think is, like, to me, primary benefit. When it comes down to people asking whether it's time to go headless, I think my answer on that is a bit finding the business benefits. I typically do a discovery workshop, find the benefits that they are looking for. And it's usually got to be at least 2 or 3. It can't just be like, we want a faster site, because there's a lot of quicker ways to do that. Maybe a faster site, more mobile optimized. You want to improve operational flexibility. We want it to be more modular. Once there's a few of these build up, it's like, okay, it's now looking like the right choice to go headless.
Yeah, exactly. This is, again, it's exactly the same way how I see it. Just this one thing is not enough. It must be really just multiple strategic things. And then out of a sudden, I guess, well, that's how I've seen it multiple times, then it just becomes clear that headless is absolutely the way to go. Since we have Martina with us, and you're a practitioner that is really doing a lot of implementation in the headless world. So from your point of view, what are the top challenges if you decide to transition towards headless?
For me, as a front-end developer, headless is a great approach, but I can see that it might be challenging, that you don't have all the tools available all in one. So we have to be able to choose the right tools and frameworks for us. But this is also a benefit for headless, because we can choose the best tools that fit perfectly our needs and also our tech stack. Then also it might be challenging to start this headless project from scratch and configure everything. But for that, for example, we can use Magnolia Headless Accelerator to speed up that process. And even and you don't have to start the project from scratch, and you can use project templates that are available for you there. And adding new features is then also easier with Headless Accelerator.
Yeah, exactly. This is also one of my findings. Really, this integration works. It was otherwise notoriously hard with writing tons of Java beans and services and proxies and whatnot. That is really something based on this loose coupling that is much, much more simple compared to the traditional work that I've seen in the past. Talking about going headless and what this really means, obviously there are also this full new generation of systems that are now on the market. But what we got quite often as feedback from people that got burnt in the process somehow is that there's quite a lack of features in a complex scenario. Not just your simple website, but really the heavy iron complex DXP platforms. Maybe we should speak a little bit about those features that you really need to run such a complex DXP setup with multiple brands and tons of touch points and so on. So, James, what do you think about the real needs if it comes to enterprise?
No, this is a great question. So just as a first one, good management of assets. You'd be shocked to know that you work with a company and they spend a significant amount of time and money doing a headless implementation, perhaps moving the traditional website from a responsive site to, say, progressive web app. All of these features designed to improve performance, and then they leave their digital assets in a really old, like their images in an old format. And of course, then they'll look at the Lighthouse score, which isn't so great because Google is like really hitting them with the punishment stick with that one. It's like, you're using old JPEG format, your performance is dropping like 20 points or something. So I think straight out of the gate, having solid image optimization, solid storage of your assets in that way, and delivering them in the right format is a huge part of it. I think obviously the ability to sort of segment and deliver across multiple different, I find in some of the larger enterprise grade, multiple different regions and multiple different brands as well. But obviously, the other part of it, and an area I think can easily get overlooked when you're going headless, is what is the experience like for the merchandiser? Because it's all very well if your site is beautiful for the customer and stuff like that, but everyone else is having to kind of hard code things at the back end. As you know, Martina says, that's great for the front end developers. That's fantastic. But there's a lot of jobs for content owners where they really do need those great tools in there. So the ability to supply those tools and be able to work within the traditional workflow that they're used to, or something similar, that's kind of important. So like you say, it's about not dropping the existing things that they already have. And I think, I'm not going into the specifics here. I think the important thing is to go in with your eyes open when you're building headless. I think there's a big, in my opinion, the biggest misconception of going headless is, wow, I like this stuff, but I want these things, and I'm just going to have everything I've got now plus these new things. Well, if you're not careful, you might end up losing a lot of things you've been taking for granted right now in a full stack or monolith, whatever you like to call it. So that's kind of an important thing, is making sure you are, talking to all of your stakeholders about exactly how they work and making sure all that functionality is available as you move forward.
Yeah, exactly. So this is also one of the feedback that we get, especially from people that got burned. For example, well, in the good old days, I was just able to compose everything. What you see is what you get editor, and that is done. And I just have a big variety of different forms, and I cannot use it at all. That's also something that that we heard quite often. And then also the heavy duty stuff, global rollouts, translation workflows, and so on, auditing processes. That's also something that I see quite often. Okay, maybe it's a good time to actually.
Sorry, Jan, can I get one last point on that? Sorry, just going to get one last thing.
Absolutely.
You made a really good point there. One thing I love about headless is also the ability for IT, who's typically overworked, doing lots of things, and the content managers to work really, really well in harmony in that sense. And the fact that IT is able to deliver and choose which parts of the site will be run by the content owners as well. And I think that's a really great point, because no one wants. IT gets put upon a lot, but nobody wants any of the things that IT want to fail. Nobody wants a site to go slowly. Nobody wants a security leak. Nobody wants a site to go down. So this way, IT is allowed to give the content owners their sections of the site that, as you rightly say, with a good CMS, you're able to just manage that in a way that you want to, in a very visual way with a kind of WYSIWYG editor and so on like that. And it allows the two to work very, very closely together. So I think that's another area where headless, the IT guys can really focus on things like performance and the real optimization of the site, whereas the content guys can be, up to date with good-looking content all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Cool. So let's have a look on basically how such, at least on the core building blocks, how such a setup with Magnolia and SFCC really looks like. So really, this is a very broad view. We're going to discuss it in more detail. So first of all, on the lower right-hand side, that's typically the Magnolia DXP platform. Those is really that part where you can basically do all this editing, content creation, rollout processes, personalization, and so on. On top of that, we have the Magnolia Headers Accelerator. I mean, hands down, you can obviously also do the same thing without the accelerator, but it's really a tool to accelerate your productivity to be much, much faster and have a lot of those difficult tasks are totally automated. Then left-hand side, obviously the core of it, that's the Salesforce Commerce Cloud, where you just have all your PIM data, your pricing, checkout payment, all those good things. And on top of that, then obviously the Salesforce PWA Kit to deliver all those experiences in a headless manner. If we zoom in a little bit more, then let's discuss PWA Kit in detail. So obviously, James, that's your baby. Maybe you can just give us the absolute highlights of it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this. Yeah, so this is obviously the technology that came across from Mobify, and the Mobify brand name has disappeared. So sometimes that doesn't happen in a Salesforce acquisition, but in this case, yeah, absolutely has. And really what you're finding is that currently for Salesforce Commerce Cloud customers, or anyone who's looking to buy Salesforce Commerce Cloud for B2C, these are already kind of included in the licensing for that. So there's two pieces of technology here. The PWA Kit is a kit that builds PWAs, as you might imagine. So PWA, for anyone who doesn't know, is a progressive web app. We don't have time to really kind of go into that in detail today, but what we found is that progressive web apps are fantastic for delivering the best experience, driving engagement, and ultimately revenue through a commerce site. And, one of the big things is they're very, very great on mobile. And even through lockdown, mobile continued to grow as the primary buying device. So there's really no options around mobile. this is the primary, typically primary storefront for your whole business these days. So mobile optimization is absolutely vital. However, the kit is really about, because PWAs are more complex to build than, say, a traditional responsive website, the kit is all about how do we optimize your time to delivery there? How do we reduce the amount of work where you're having to just kind of, reinvent the wheel? One of the things about headless is there's quite a lot of custom coding in there, and doing headless smart really means optimizing the time you're spending on that custom coding so that the custom code you're writing is very much about how we can differentiate our brand, how we can really distinguish ourselves, how we can add great value to the site, and not just rebuilding stuff that you would have previously got straight out of the box in a full stack solution like SFRA. So, every line of custom code you're writing is increasing cost, time to market, and complexity. So you obviously want to really make sure that every line is adding value for you. Now, the other side of it, the area that I think is often overlooked when people go headless, is the operational side of things. And where am I hosting my new, the head of my headless architecture? And that's exactly what managed runtime is designed to do. And so this is kind of a thing that a lot of people going headless just aren't prepared for. They don't realize that suddenly this is on top of them. You're suddenly having to manage all these kind of things for like peak trading. So that managed runtime takes 90% of that operational burden off your shoulders. It's a multi-tenant, cloud-based environment specifically for hosting PWA Kit. It deals with all of the enterprise-grade requirements like scalability, uptime, performance, security. And what's great about it is that the user experience layer, the PWA Kit, can be deployed in 60 seconds or rolled back in 60 seconds, typically meaning that our customers are able to do a lot more rollouts and even stop code freezing through peak trading. So it's very much looking at exactly the business value of how to do headless right.
Yep, exactly. Very nice, summarized. Cool. And talking about how can we really bridge those two systems with great speed, this is actually where the headless accelerator comes in. And again, since we have really this practitioner here, also that person, in fact, that wrote the very good integration or big parts of the integration with Salesforce. Yeah, maybe Martina, can you maybe just break down the headless accelerator for us?
Magnolia Headless Accelerator is a developer productivity tool that helps speed up the development process of a headless project. So you don't need to start from scratch, and you can use one of our project templates that are available for you. With these templates, you can create a project with React, Angular, or Vue.js. And you have also available a project of the integration of Magnolia, Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and Salesforce PWA Kit. And when you use this template project, you don't need to configure everything from scratch. You don't need to configure Magnolia, and you don't need to configure the connection to the SFCC. And Headless Accelerator gives you a ready-to-use project with a lot of interesting features. And adding new features yourself is then also very easy because Headless Accelerator does lots of manual steps for you. And so front-end developers can focus more on implementing new front-end features.
Mm-hmm. Yep, very well summarized. Good. Last but not least, let's have a quick look on basically how the overall process typically looks like and where the headless accelerator really plays a big role in that. So if you just zoom out, typically the full project starts with the strategy, concept, what are we going to deliver, and once information architecture, all that good stuff is ready, then obviously then comes the time when you start to work on your creatives to really get all those different wireframes to know what kind of components you have. Then typically in the next step, and this is then already where there's a lot of disconnect, is when you basically start to create those components. And typically what you always see in a lot of projects, just with a storybook where you have just all the different components laid out, especially important if you are in this multi-brand world with all kind of different variations. And this is one of the, from my point of view, very cool things with the headless accelerator. You can use those components straight away and let's say PWA Kit. So all the mock data is already supplied while you're just creating your components. And since that stuff is really, in this case, React Native code, you can just take this already done to the PWA Kit and take it into production. And yeah, since you don't have this break anymore of copying somehow from your storybook content over or just templates over to this React application, that was what I've seen typically one of those points where a lot of time was lost. There was a lot of friction, and just having this fully automated, it's, I guess, an extremely big plus in the full workflow. Okay, I would say we could just probably talk hours about this, but what is obviously much more powerful is just really seeing it live, how really Salesforce clicks together with Magnolia, and also how fast it really is to actually write new components and extend functionality.
I'm going to show you the integration demo of Magnolia, Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and Salesforce PWA Kit with some features and functionality. And later on, we are going to look at it from a more technical point of view, and we are going to start our own project and create a new component that is connected to the Salesforce Commerce Cloud using Magnolia Headless Accelerator. So let's dive in. I'm going to log in my login panel to Magnolia, and when I log in, I can see the dashboard of all the apps that are available for me. Thanks to security and roles that we have here in Magnolia, I can see just those apps that are relevant for me. Each app is used for storing and managing different kind of data. And thanks to the fact that each app looks pretty similar, when we learn how to use one app, we can very easily learn how to use any other app. So let's look on the apps that we have here. We have here, for example, Pages app, where we can store and manage our editorial pages. We have Assets app, where we manage images and other kind of assets. We have here some content apps for storing different kind of data. Then we have here, for example, SEO app to check the page for metadata, etc. We have here Campaigns app to have date-specific content. And we have here the e-commerce app, which is really important for us as we are talking about the e-commerce solution. So let's look what we have in the e-commerce app. We can see here the connected Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and we can browse through all the catalogs that we have here. We can see all our categories and subcategories, and when we click on the subcategory, we can see all the products that are in this category. And when we open the product itself, we see the product detail page with all the information about the product. All of this information is taken from Salesforce Commerce Cloud, so nothing is stored in Magnolia, nothing is duplicated in Magnolia, everything is taken from Salesforce Commerce Cloud. So if we were to change something in Salesforce, we will get here the new data. Thanks to this Magnolia Salesforce Commerce Cloud connection, we can use also the search tool to browse through our products. So for example, when I type in skirt, I will see all the products that have skirt in their name, and when I open the product, I see the product detail page again and see all the information about it. Now let's look at the Pages app that I mentioned earlier. When we go to the Pages app, we can see on the left side we have the overview of all the pages that we have created here in our project. On the right side, we see action bar with all the actions we can do with it. Let's open our home page. This is a visual preview of frontend, in our case served via the PWA Kit that is running, but in what you see is what you get editor. Thanks to that, content editors can very easily and quickly manage the content and add their new components. The frontend itself is running separately, like the PWA Kit we can see here. We have here multiple components available and created already for us to look at. The first component that we have here is a hero component. When we want to edit it as a content editor, we can easily do so by clicking on this icon, and we get the dialog window with all the properties that this component has. We can change any of them, and we would see all the changes directly in the what you see is what you get editor. What is interesting for us is a category property, because this field is connected to our Salesforce Commerce Cloud. We can select a new category, and we see our catalog connected, and we can browse through the categories that we have in our catalog. So for example, I can select a new category, and when I save my changes, we will directly see the new updated version of the PWA Kit. We can look here in the PWA Kit that is running separately, and when we refresh the page and click on the link, we are taken to the product list page of that category that we have chosen. When we are talking about products, we might want also to add a product to our home page. For that, we have a product component, like you can see here. It's very easy for content editor to add a new component, to add a new product or edit it. Just by clicking on the edit icon, we can select a new product from our categories. For example, I can select a new product. The only thing that is saved in Magnolia is this reference, and when I save my changes, I will be able to see my changes directly here. So Magnolia saves only the references, in this case to the product, and then PWA Kit, when it renders the page, it gets data from Magnolia, and with that also the reference to the product in this case. And then the PWA Kit displays the information about the product. When we are using the What You See is What You Get editor, we can very easily create a new component by, for example, duplicating the component. When we click on the component itself, we have here the action to duplicate component. When we duplicate the component, we see right away our changes. We can move our component just by drag and dropping it and see the changes right away, or we can delete component at all. When we want to display products on our page, we can do it like this by putting there our products, but we can also use products that are recommended through Einstein Recommender. For that, we have here a component that displays products that are recommended from Einstein. As a content editor, we can very easily select an Einstein recommender we want to use, and then we select one or multiple products which we base the recommendation on. Einstein configuration is done in Einstein Configurator, and here content editor selects just the product that we are going to base the recommendation on. Other option to promote our products is to use hotspot image. So that's an image where we have a spot on the image that can inspire users to buy some products. For that, we have here on our home page, we have here an image with these spots. When we click on the spot, we get the information about the product. And we can click on the information box and we are taken directly to the product detail page, and we can shop the product, etc. We can define these hotspots in the Assets app. As I mentioned earlier, the Assets app is used for managing assets. So for example, we are going to open an image and we define focal hotspots for it. So we have an image here, and the only thing that we need to do is just to click on the image, and we have here a spot that will be connected to our catalog. So for example, we can use any product that we want and connect it to the spot. And now, if we use this hotspot component in our page, we will see this image with a hotspot spot there that will be connected to our product information. When we are talking about products and content, sometimes we might want to show different kind of content to different audience. For that, we have personalization. In this integration demo, we have a special offer component here. We can see that it has different variants for different audience based on this drop-down that we have here. Content editor can very easily look at these different variants just by clicking on the option they want. The variant of the component that is displayed on the page is based on the personalization rules that it has to meet. So, for example, when we are on our page, we don't have here any component, any special component, special offer component. But if we were to type in the special trait, we will see here the component ourselves. When we want to display different content, we might look at it like this. So when we have some traits, we display different content, but also we might want to display content based on the date. For that, we have a campaign managed component. So a component that contains a campaign, but the only thing that we define as a content editor here on the page is the slot of that campaign. The campaign itself is defined in the Campaigns app. Let's look at the Campaigns app. In the Campaigns app, we, again, as in the Pages app, on the left side, we see overview of all the campaigns that we have. On the right side, we see the actions we can do with the campaign. When we click on our campaign, we can edit a schedule of our campaign and set the dates during which this campaign would be visible for the users. And then, when we want to define how the campaign looks, we just edit this component in what you see is what you get editor, so content editor can very easily change things in this dialog window. Each campaign has then set a slot based on which we selected a campaign on our homepage, and in the calendar view we see what campaigns are currently active. We can see our campaign managed component, for example here, where we see our the information that we put in the Campaigns app. Content editor can also define what the user can see in the navigation banner. For example, we have here the category page, or we can have here subcategory page. We can have also other editorial pages that we define in Magnolia, or even external page. We can define it in the navigation app, where we have all the items defined. So for example, let's look at the one item. We have here the link of e-commerce category that is connected to our Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and we can select any category or subcategory to display it in the navigation banner. We can define the name of the navigation item, etc. We can also select a link, either internal, so we select from the editorial pages that we define in Magnolia, or we can add an external URL to connect to any external page. Content editors might also want to promote some events or product or categories in the navigation header. For that, we have an app called e-commerce categories, where we have all of our connected categories and subcategories. And we define that, for example, for the men's category, we want to have navigation banner, and we define what that navigation banner should look like. And when we go to our navigation and open the navigation, we see the banner here. Like that, we can define any promotional banner here for each category or subcategory, with also some call to action buttons. We can also enhance the product list page, because product list page is displaying all the products directly from Salesforce Commerce Cloud. But we can, as a content editor, also enhance this product list page. We can do it again in the e-commerce categories app, where we define a product list banner. We can define how the product list would look. And when we go to the subcategory or category that we defined it for, we can see here the banner we've created. And then we get all the products that are available for us. We can also add a campaign managed banner. So as the same way as we have in the home page, we can define a slot from the campaigns that we have, and then in the accessories category, we see our campaign here. So right now we are going to look at how we can create our own integration demo or integration project and create a new component that will be connected to Salesforce Commerce Cloud. So for that we are going to use Magnolia Headless Accelerator, which is a tool for developers to start a new project very easily and quickly. We as developers can use a project template so that we don't start from scratch, and then we can customize the project as we want. So I'm going to I created a new project, and I'm going to jumpstart a new project. I'm going to put in my credentials, and I'm going to select which project I want to create. I'm putting in the name of the project, and now the AJS CLI tool is extracting the template of the project that I have chosen for myself. Right now, the AJS CLI asks me for my Salesforce Commerce Cloud credentials. If I had different Salesforce Commerce Cloud, I could put in right now my new credentials. Or I can use the default values that we have here. So I'm going to confirm all of these values, and AJS CLI is going to create a new project for me with all these credentials. We can change these credentials later on in code as well, but when we put in all of these credentials right now, AJS CLI will configure everything for us, so that when the project is started up, we have PWA Kit correctly connected to Salesforce Commerce Cloud and to Magnolia, as well as Magnolia connected to Salesforce Commerce Cloud too. When AJS CLI created a project for us, we can start it up with AJ Dev, and right here we can see on the top we see the logs from AJS CLI. On the right bottom side we see PWA Kit starting up, and on the left bottom part we see Magnolia starting up. When everything starts up, we will be able to see PWA Kit running and then Magnolia, and we will see the project that the integration demo is based on. When the project has started up for us, we can see the login panel and login as a super user. We again see the dashboard of all the apps that are available for us. Those are the same apps that we saw in the integration demo that I showed earlier. Let's go to the Pages app, and we can open our home page. And we can add here a new component to see if everything is connected correctly. So let's add here a product component. and we select a product from our connected catalog. And we choose a product, and we will see right away the product in here. If we want to create a new component, we can do it very easily in Headless Accelerator. We just go to our terminal tool and we type in C to create a new code. We are going to create a new product teaser component and create it. We can see the product teaser component was created for us. So let's look at the code. And we can see in the app components that we have here, where we have all our components stored, we can see we have here a new component, product teaser, created. The definition of the dialog that is showed in Magnolia is in the product teaser YAML file, and what is displayed in PWA Kit is defined in product teaser.js. If you want to display the product, we have to make it available in the home page. For that, we go to Template, Pages, Home, and we define that it is among the available components for that page template. We just define where we can find this component, and when we save our changes and we go back to our Magnolia and we refresh it, we will now be able to add a new component that is called product teaser, and we are going to select a title. So we are going to type in title and save our changes, and we will see here directly our component created. When we want to add there a new dialog to display a new field and property in this component, we can do it in here, the product YAML file, where we define that, for example, we want to see the product that is going to be the type of the e-commerce product link field to be linked to our Salesforce Commerce Cloud. We are going to save this, and we also want to display it in PWA Kit. So we are going to define that we will get the product ID, and we are going to display, for example, the name of the product, and we are going to display the short description of the product. When we save our changes and refresh our Magnolia, we can now edit this product teaser component to have a product connected. We have here Salesforce Commerce Cloud connected, and we can select a new component, a new product, and when we choose a product, I save our changes. We see here the name of the product and the short description of the product. So like this, we could add there an image of the product, etc. Like this, we can mix the editorial content and the data from Salesforce Commerce Cloud. So with Headless Accelerator, it is very easy to create new components and to create such an integration project.
All right, whoopa. That was quite amazing, I would say. Yeah, and this is also one of the things that every single time, even though I've done it already multiple times, blows my mind with this capability to set up full running Magnolia, full running SFCC, PWA Kit, and within 5 minutes and have everything running. That's really awesome. I mean, when we just did it at the very first time without the accelerator, and we just wired up everything manually, that just took quite a while. A lot of guesswork at the very beginning. Now it's just runs on Rails, and also this capability to automatically just create those components at this breakneck speed. It's, from my point, really a fantastic thing. Cool. So that means we are now in the Q&A part of our masterclass, and we have already 3 questions. That's good. By the way, guys, if there's anything unclear for you, if you have any question, don't be shy. Just ask. This is what we're here for. So yeah, let me see what we have here. So from David, are the campaigns apps made from scratch? Is it part of Commerce Connector Pack, or where does it come from? Well, that's basically a standard module that you can, and at least the Magnolia campaign manager, something that you can just install from our marketplace or incubator repository. That come basically free of charge. Just install it and use it. It's really, really, really helpful. It's going to reduce your content editing time a lot. Oh, here they come, all the questions. That's cool. Okay, next thing is it possible for SI partners to develop a custom component in Magnolia which pulls data from SFCC or some other third-party systems? Such requests needs to go through the Magnolia product team. Absolutely not. I mean, yes, you can absolutely do it, and for sure you don't have to contact the Magnolia product team for that. I mean, that's really one of the core strengths of Magnolia. It's connectivity. I mean, especially if you want to have this integration in the front end, as we have seen, you can not in real time, but close to real time, really just connect whatever service you really need to create those different experiences. So the front end part is really, really easy. For the backend part, there are a lot of there's this universal connector framework that can be utilized, or you can just solve it in Java. So yeah, clear answer, absolutely possible. Done multiple times. How did the hotspot functionality as this app? It's the same thing. It's just an extra app that you have to install. You can find it through our marketplace or just incubator space. There you have all the documentation, descriptions, and so on. Okay. Next one. This is integrated with PWA Kit version X. If update happened to the PWA Kit, do you plan on keeping it on sync? Well, first of all, from my side, what we have seen now, that was the latest and greatest. So there's nothing fresher. We just absolutely keep on updating it. Maybe, James, how about the update process on PWA Kit upgrades?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way to consider this at the moment is that the PWA Kit is becoming more and more modular. So this will make it easier and easier for a great CMS like Magnolia to be integrated with it and to keep this up to date as we kind of move through updates to that. I appreciate the kind of version 1.5 to version 2 is a bit of a kind of breaking change, but as you move forward from that, it's just going to get easier and easier. But as Jan's already said, it's already updated to version 2. It's on the latest and greatest already. So yeah, it'll be easy enough to keep it in sync, I believe.
Sure. And talking about breaking changes, well, I would say the upgrade experience was extremely smooth and pleasant. So it was went really well for us. Yeah. Is there any connector available for B2B commerce with PWA Kit? Is one of the questions.
From my point of view, yeah, there's nothing available at the moment, but this is something we're going to be focusing on in the near future. So I think I can We can say that, but yeah, there's nothing available at the moment.
But up to come. Cool. Who's in charge of sorting rules, ECDN, and caching when combining PWA with Magnolia? Caching, big topic. Well, first of all, Magnolia is a content that is delivered from Magnolia that is already cached from Magnolia's side. So if you have complex queries, then you're not going to recalculate this per request, but we already deliver that stuff we already cache that stuff and deliver it straight to PWA Kit. If it comes to caching and CDN on PWA Kit, then maybe, James, do you want to also chip something in? Especially on scaling.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, absolutely. So PWA Kit itself is running behind, right now, typically is going to be running behind its own CDN that's provided with managed runtime, so not actually behind ECDN. Any data coming out of Commerce will be potentially cached in the ECDN as well. But yeah, ultimately, you're able to do caching at the CDN layer inside the managed runtime. And a typical area where you will be definitely caching is because the PWA Kit does server-side rendering. So you're going to be caching static pages as part of that. So one area that you would be caching would be if you're using, say, some commerce data and some content from Magnolia inside, say, a home page as an example, that page itself, the generic part of that page, the non-personalized thing, is going to get cached in the CDN as well. So individual calls, individual assets can be cached, but at the same time, so can the static pages as well.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. The next one, is it possible to use a different recommendation engine instead of Einstein? That's really the full idea of composability. In the end, you can really use whatever service for, let's say, recommendation, sorting, search, whatever you really like can be used in such a headless scenario. That's really the cool benefit in it. When we just have seen Martina coding that component. So if you have something else that is going to deliver data, whatever REST services is, you're just going to take this REST service, and then based on this data, you can then, for example, use another Reco engine if you want to have that in your mix. Good. More is coming. Yay. You guys on fire. Okay. How does SEO attributes can be managed in Magnolia while using PWA Kit? That's a very good question. In the end, SEO attributes, what is that? Well, mainly content. And therefore, you can, based on your SEO strategy, just have a matching dialog. And in this dialog, you can then just look at your H1, meta title, canonicals, you name it. So all this stuff can be really managed in Magnolia and then used straight away in PWA Kit. Okay. I would say we plowed through all those questions. Perfect. Okay. Also looking at our timetable, we are slowly but surely coming to an end, but we have something prepared for you. So before we let you go, we have a few things that you can just actually take to continue your journey on discovering what Magnolia can do with PWA Kit and SFCC. Well, first of all, we have a really well-crafted in-depth guide, an integration guide. So that is for sure something that I would just get, and we can just really get in detail what we have seen, really how it works. So that is highly recommended. Next thing, obviously our HA docs, so that's our headless accelerator. So the documentation is public, so you can also use this to understand how the system works. And if you already have a Magnolia license, then you can already use it straight away. And last but not least, obviously, I mean, that demo by itself was already like very powerful, but if you need a tailored demo, if you need in-depth understanding, or if you need some help on actually trying this tech out, just reach out and we are more than happy to help you guys. Just an anecdote, we had really exactly this situation. And it was very different to the typical pitch situation. It was like, okay, we want to do it by ourselves because if someone else is doing it, we are not able. Not good. So yeah, we just gave a helping hand for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours. 2 weeks later, we had a full running shop with live data from Salesforce. So yeah, also, if it comes to that, if you need a bit of help, we're more than happy to help you guys. Okay, good. Right on time, up to the second. Crazy. Okay, so therefore, I would say it's time to say goodbye. You've been a wonderful audience, lots of questions, really, really good. And therefore, from my side, I would say ciao, speak to you soon.